The Paul Leslie Hour, helping people tell their stories. And now, your host, Paul Leslie.
Hello?
Oh, is this Paul?
This is Paul.
This is Arthur.
The Arthur Hamilton?
The only one that I know.
Well, it's good to hear your voice.
Well, thank you. It's good to hear yours. What can I do for you?
Well, this is going to be taped, of course, not live.
All right.
Well, just, you want to get into the Q&A?
Sure.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the man we're speaking with is songwriter Arthur Hamilton. It is a great pleasure to welcome him here. Thank you so much for making the time to do this.
My pleasure to be here.
Well, tell me, today is a day in May. What was the first thing you did this morning?
Oh, boy. The first thing I did, well, I guess brush my teeth.
Are you a creature of habit?
Very much.
Yeah? Do you continue to write songs?
Absolutely.
Do you write songs every day?
Well, I'm working on something every day, but I don't actually write and finish a song every day.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm always working on one or another, more than one at the same time.
Take us back a little bit. I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about your family.
I was very fortunate in having musical parents. My mother was a singer with the Schuberts on stage in New York, and my father was a song plugger working for Irving Berlin for 21 years in New York. He came out here and headed the office on the West Coast and made a pretty good name for himself as a songwriter for films, and wrote a big song a big score for a film called Follies Bergère, starring Maurice Chevalier, Merle Oberon, and Anne Southern. But that was in 1936, and he wrote a lot of other things. But there was always at least, I think I had 2 or 3 pianos in the house at all times, and there was no other place for me to go except to the piano, and I went there. And it was a marvelous education to be the son of 2 people who spoke music. They just spoke and lived music. My mother played piano as well. My father was a wonderful keyboard player, much better than I am or ever was. And so there was music everywhere. What else do you do?
Song plugger for Irving Berlin. Did you ever meet Irving Berlin?
I never did.
No.
I never did. I was in New York, but not at the right time to meet him. I had great regard for him. I know a lot about him, and from my father and from other people. And he was a marvelous, energetic, focused writer. He wrote a lot more than I ever wrote. I mean, the point is he probably wrote a song a day. And just wrote it, put it aside, wrote another one, put it aside, and it was that kind of a machine. It was just terrific and brilliant. So we all learned from him. I think one of the things, is speaking generally, is that all songwriters learn from each other. I looked at the music copies and listened to the songs of Richard Rodgers and Jerome Kern and George Gershwin. And those people really were my mentors. And some years later, I was lucky enough to sit at the table of the board of ASCAP and sit next to Harold Arlen and sit next to Richard Rodgers and others of great fame. And it was a wonderful education, because I had known their work, and it had gone into my head and heart, and you use those things. We learn from the music around us, just as people do today.
The names you listed there, a lot of the songwriters of what we call now the Great American Songbook.
Absolutely.
What do you think it is that led to the songs that these people wrote, Jerome Kern, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Irving Berlin, Harold Arlen, all these people. Why do you think the quality was so out of sight?
Well, again, I think they all learned from each other, but in different ways. Irving Berlin's history was from the streets in New York City, and he spoke the language of the street when he started. He was, not a brilliantly educated person. He didn't spend a lot of time in college or anything like that. Rodgers and Hart met in college. Jerome Kern was a college student. Many of the others were well educated in a formal sense, but they all had that drive in common to do better than they'd done before, and they all went to each other's shows, theater shows, and they would say, "Oh, I could do better than that. I could do that better. I can write something better," and it spurred them on. And I think it happens with every generation. The people today are emulating that kind of music that they hear around them, and you don't hear as much of the standard songs of the Great American Songbook. You don't hear as many of those today, and that's sad to me. But that's the way it is. It's a change in style and shape and intention of the songs.
Is there a songwriter that you could say has had the greatest influence on you?
Well, all of the above, but certainly I want to include Johnny Mercer. I knew him well, and it was a sweetheart of a man, and brilliant, and a great technician, equal to the others we're talking about, the Gershwins and Cole Porter. But yeah, we should spend an hour talking about Cole Porter. I mean, his brilliance of melody and lyric is astounding. And, way ahead of his time when he was there, and still way ahead of his time today. But, there's no place to go and learn how to write songs. I was involved in teaching at UCLA for some time, and I used to tell the students, you're not here to learn how to write songs. Your heart will tell you that. You've got a keyboard, you've got a guitar, whatever you want to do. Right? But it's what you hear roaring around inside you, and what you feel you can write down, and that what you write down, if it makes sense to you, maybe it'll make sense to somebody else.
So you write very much from the heart.
Yeah, there and from it's not all heart. I mean, a lot of it is what you have stored up in your memory. I know so many songs and lyrics of music of other people, and that has been my library of going through and comparing and back and forth. I never have copied anything anybody else did, but at least knowingly. But it's all been there. One of the great influences of my life is the singer Bobby Short. Bobby Short was an African American and a dear friend of mine from the time I was 19 years old. And he used to play piano in Beverly Hills. And I used to go hear him and order a Coke as a Coca-Cola, because they wouldn't serve me any liquor in their place. But I would sit there and listen to him. He was a walking library of the great songs. And I've told people many times, I never went to college. I went to Bobby Short. He was incredible. And he passed away not too long ago, but we were dear friends up until that time.
Is it true that Bobby Short would play one of your songs whenever you walked into the Carlisle?
Well, that's interesting. That's true that he did. I remember I had given him some songs when I was so very young, And I didn't think that he had remembered any of them. But when I would walk in, invariably he would play one or another of those songs that I had written earlier, where sometimes the verses of the songs were longer than the chorus. And I've since that time cut down the length of those verses and in most cases cut out the verse entirely.
How did you learn you could write songs?
Well, my father was writing all the time, and so I heard him pounding the piano and heard him playing songs in the living room with his collaborators. He only wrote music. He didn't write lyrics. But my mother wrote lyrics a little bit and was very good at it. But I would hear all that music, and when I had studied piano, and I remember when I was 14, I told my mother I didn't want to study the piano anymore. She said, "What do you want to do?" I said, I don't want to play Chopin. I want to play me." So I I've spent as much time at the piano as I did before studying other people's music, but I just played stuff. I taught myself how to play what is like a cocktail piano. I'm not a great keyboard player, but I learned how to play a little bit in different keys, and it helped me express myself, and I would find lyrical ideas, and began doing that from the time I was 15, 16, 17, and on, and more. I wasn't making any money. I had a whole bunch of songs, and my father was helping me make lead sheets of the songs, and I learned how to make lead sheets from him. And the last job I held was working as a delivery boy for Horton and Converse drugstore. And I used to write songs on the back of prescription blanks while I was delivering those drugs. And, but the interesting thing here, I'd like to stress, is that I never considered myself a delivery boy. I was writing songs. I just had to write songs. So I was never gave into, well, I got to get this kind of job and that kind of job. I never had too many jobs. I taught driving for a while, but the drugstore thing was about for almost 2 years.
So you considered yourself a songwriter before that?
Oh, yeah.
It was so much a part of you.
Yes, absolutely. It was. I would have never done anything worthwhile, I don't think, in the business world, because I didn't care about it. We do what it is we feel inclined to do, and the joy of ideas, both musical and lyrical, it never lost their fascination for me, and continue to this day.
We're talking with songwriter Arthur Hamilton. What was the first song you wrote that was recorded by someone?
Gee, I think it was a song Herb Jeffries recorded. I can't remember the title offhand. I'm trying to hum it, but I can't remember it. But it was a long time ago, and I had spotty records of different songs that never achieved any distinction, and nothing big. But it was that was probably 20 or 22 when that happened. But it didn't keep me from delivering drugs. I don't remember. I think my first ASCAP check was for $8. And because I joined ASCAP because my father was a member of ASCAP, and I used to go to those general membership meetings with him out here. And then later, luckily, I went on the board myself, on the ASCAP board. One thing leads to another. I was never interested in the business politics of stuff, but I've been fortunate to represent other writers, and I did so as a member of the Academy, Motion Picture Academy board for a number of years. and was head of the music branch. So there I was dealing with a whole bunch of talented, very talented, and opinionated composers and lyricists.
Well, on that note, what songwriter that you've worked with would you say was the most talented?
Well, I couldn't put it that way because they're all different talents. I've worked with Pat Williams, who was brilliant orchestrator and brilliant writer, with Johnny Mandel, who was legendary. He wrote, The Shadow of Your Smile and many other things. I couldn't say anybody was more brilliant than the rest because each of them had the same kind of commitment that I have, and that made us work together with each other. I never worked with anybody I had any problems with. Something I could amend that. The only time I ever had any problems with anybody was somebody who was not well known and was totally unsure of himself, but didn't have a collaborative frame of mind. The people that I mentioned, Johnny Mandel and those people, they would sit down and they would listen to their own music and then listen to what I had put there as a collaborator. And we would talk about it, not in a critical sense, but in just an analytical sense. And I would talk about their melodies, and they would talk about the lyrics, and we'd talk about the song. The song became something we both were stirring in a kettle. And out of it came some nice things. Jerry Fielding was somebody else I worked with a lot. And I've got a whole, list of probably 50 writers. For the first 10 or 12 years of my life as a writer, I wrote the words and music myself. And then I began to get phone calls from other composers and motion picture producers and television producers asking me if I would write lyrics for other music. And I was lucky and that I was able to separate my two talents, and then I could sit down and listen to a Johnny Mandel melody and say, oh yeah, I can go there. I didn't have to comment on it, make suggestions or anything. I let them to be responsible for the music, and I was responsible for the words.
Do you enjoy the lyric writing more?
No. I like, if I had a choice, I probably would just write all by myself. But I love the collaborative feeling as well. I like the company, and I like writing with people. So I can't say I like it less. But it's in a sense more satisfying to sit down and write something all by yourself. But I don't have any ego drive about it. And the only thing I have to amend is this: I have never written music for somebody else's lyric. I'm always in charge of the lyric.
Did you ever write with Michele Agron?
One song, I think, and I can't remember the name of it. I did. Somebody brought me an idea for a song, and they had started the words, and they asked me to collaborate with them, with two other guys. And Michele was one of them. I wasn't involved personally with Michele, but he had laid out the melody. It was a pretty thing. I can't remember the name of it. It was I know it was recorded, but I don't know by whom.
Would it be possible for you to pick the best interpretation of a song that you wrote? It's a really good question, and everything is so subjective, isn't it? Certainly Julie London's record, A Crimea River, was wonderful in its own way. It was soft and sexy and all the good things. When I first heard it, I thought that it was too quiet and soft and that it would be overlooked. I was sure surprised by its success and delighted. And then that song itself has been
has been recorded by maybe 2,500 people at this moment. And certainly Barbra Streisand's record, she's done it 3 times or 4 times for albums. Her version is entirely different from Julie's, and all of those, each of those singers has an attitude toward singing and toward that particular song different from the others. I'd never be able to pick the best one. Ella Fitzgerald's record was wonderful. It was just a joy to know that all those people were involved in the song and liked it.
It's really incredible when you just look at the list, just seeing the list, let alone when you start to listen to all the different versions.
Exactly.
Michael Bublé, Frank Sinatra Jr.,
yeah.
Of course, the Julie London recording. That song, it just seems to be magical. What do you think it is about the song that so many singers have identified with?
It expresses a feeling that most of us feel sometimes in a failed relationship or failed moments of a relationship. And it's funny, there was a song years before I wrote Cry Me a River called I Cried for You. I cried for you, now it's your turn to cry over me. Do you know that song?
I have to admit, I don't know that one.
I cried for you. I don't know who wrote the song, but it was, Tin Pan Alley in the golden days, in the 20s probably, or late 20s. So the idea has been there, and I Cried for You, now it's your turn to cry over me, is essentially what Cry Me a River is. So maybe it's part of the melody, it's part of the constant repetition of the phrase in there. I don't think anybody had ever. As a matter of fact, when I wrote down the title, I looked at it and I said, "Oh, come on!" I wrote down "Cry Me a River," and I said, "Wait a minute! People are not going to like that, or they're going to laugh at that because it's too much like the Crimea in Europe." And so I wrote that down. I kept it on a piece of paper in my desk for a year. But then one day, I was at the piano and I was messing around and I hit those notes. Now you say you. I wrote the last 8 bars first. Now you say you love me. Well, just to prove you do. Come on and cry me a river, cry me a river. I cried a river. So when I did that, which like 5 minutes took me to do that, and I said, I got a song here. I had justified using that title. And I guess I repeated Cry Me a River so many times that I forgot about the Crimea. And it became a thing of itself. So that's the way the song built for me. And then for other people, they heard that. They heard what I did. And it meant something to them. But it means something to us. I mean, I had sad experiences in relationships, and it was partly that you draw on those, and the rage and hysteria that you feel, and hurt feelings, and when you're rejected, when it doesn't turn out the way you want it. So that expresses something in a way that it hasn't been expressed before. I don't know why the song didn't just ride for a year and a half and just stay there and disappear. I don't know. Can you tell me? I have no idea.
I don't know. There's something magical about the song.
I kind of agree. I don't know. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to do that every time you sit down at the piano?
What is the greatest compliment that you've gotten as a songwriter?
Somebody showed me a telegram that the singer had received from Alec Wilder, a wonderful writer, and he had heard an album that the girl had recorded, and he sent her a wire, and he just said, Arthur Hamilton writes songs the way they should be written. And it was wonderful. I saved up that telegram.
That's really well put, Gets to the point.
Well, it was wonderful coming from him. He wrote words of music and lots of music. He was just a very talented guy. I never met him except through music, in this way. But how nice that was. Other people have said nice things to me about my work, and it's a joy to be respected by people you respect.
How does it feel when you know that a song that you wrote has become a standard?
Well, but it feels, I think, surprising. You look back and say, "Did I do that?" We're not in charge of the history of a song. Once it's written, it either achieves flight or it doesn't. Some of them have a very short flight and they disappear. And there's in the music business. There's always a lot of people to blame. You can say, well, the arranger screwed up behind the singer. They blocked out too many of the words, and you couldn't hear the guitar was too loud, the trumpet section, all that. But there are wonderful arrangements of songs, and those don't live either. So that's a conundrum I would never be able to pin down. All I know is I reduce it to, when I sit down to write something, I don't think about any of the song at all. I don't think about anything except the phrase I use when I'm writing something is I have to go there. I have to be the voice of the person who's having the problem. And I'm expressing that kind of feeling. It's not Arthur Hamilton saying this. It's the character for whom I'm writing, the character of the song.
I wanted to also ask you about one of your songs. I hope you can tell us about the inspiration behind Kissa Rainbow.
Oh, Sing a Rainbow?
Sing a Rainbow, I meant.
Sing a Rainbow, yeah. I'm glad. I was thinking of that when you talked about the previous question. Sing a Rainbow has an interesting history in that I had been familiar with Peggy Lee, and a great admirer of hers, and knew her, and she had recorded a song of mine called Bouquet of Blues, and we were friends. And she went up to open at a club in Las Vegas, and I wanted to send her a telegram. I couldn't get there, and I just wanted to send her a telegram. Well, what do you say to Peggy Lee, who was a big star, and she's opening at the Sands, Sands Hotel in Vegas. And I was taking a shower, and I suddenly thought of what I should say. I turned off the shower, and sent the telegram. The telegram was, Sing a Rainbow. And she called me at 4 o'clock in the morning, and she said, oh, my God, I got that wonderful wire, Sing a Rainbow, and it's just, is it great? So I said, well, consider it yours. Which of us is going to write that song? Or maybe we can do it together. She said, oh, no, it's yours. Nothing happened for a year, but she was hired by Jack Webb to be in the film Pete Kelly's Blues. And Jack asked me to write. I had written He Needs Me for Peggy to sing in that film, a ballad. And Jack called and said, we need a song that she sings in a sanitarium. She's a drinker and a singer, but falling on bad times. And so write something that she's singing. She's holding a doll in her arms, and she's cradling it as if it's her own baby. And so I sat down and I wrote 4 or 5 songs, and I wasn't happy with them. And all of a sudden I remembered that wire I had sent Peggy. And I said, gee. So I thought what a rainbow would be. So I started red and yellow and pink and green, purple and orange and blue. I can sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow, sing a rainbow too. So I wrote that song. And it was so simple. I was almost embarrassed to show it to Jack when I played it for him. And he said, "That's it." I said, "Fine." So then I had a cold the day that they played the song for Peggy. And Jack was in the room, and Peggy and Ray Heindorf, the arranger of the music for the film. And Jack called me that night. He said, "The most amazing thing," he said, she cried. She started to cry while she was listening to that song. I said, "Well, that's nice." And I never told him that was why. Probably that she connected that with the telegram I had sent her. And so she, at the cast party, when the film was finished, she gave me I think a cigarette box or something like that. On the top of it said, "No, she gave me a wallet." And the wallet had a little note in there. It said, "Thanks, a Rainbow."
Mm.
That's the whole story.
That's great. I know there's someone listening to this who has been trying to get their songs recorded, or maybe someone who has been pursuing another profession and they're just discouraged. They've been trying so hard.
Mm.
What would you say to that person out there that's been at it for years and they're not giving up?
Well, what they're doing is absolutely the right thing. The thing they have to do is don't count the time that's passing. It's nothing. It's put your head down and write and write and write and write. That's all I do. I don't know any of that. I don't even know what my batting average is, but I'm sure it's pretty low as far as successes of each individual song. I probably write 50, 100 songs a year, and I don't know whether I don't pay any attention to whether I made $1,000 from this song and $3,000 from that, or nothing from that song. And some of the songs that earn nothing, I like the most. That's because once you have a song done, when you finish the song, then it's suddenly in other people's hands. So the arranger, the performer, the singer, and the song can be either made or spoiled by so many other hands. And that's one of the things that, like, Quincy Jones is wonderful doing what he does. His brilliance is in the control room. He knows when the song is done, when it's finished, and when it's been recorded. It's there in the studio, and that is his, I think, his greatest asset. That's wonderful to know that. I'm not of a producer mind. I've never even wanted to produce somebody else singing. But that's why I'm saying it's so easy for a writer to say, "Look, I don't do anything but write. I'm writing. Don't bother me. I got an idea for a song. I got it. Put it aside. Look at it. Go try to record it. Try to get it recorded. Do a demo of it. Do a tape of it. Do something with it, and then play it for somebody else. And then if that other person gets goosebumps or whatever it is, goosebumps, or is enthusiastic about it, fine. If they're not, and you still believe in the song, those people are wrong. You're right. I still believe in songs that people have said, I just don't hear the song. Then I just take the song up and put it back in my pocket and say, "No problem. Thank you very much." And luckily, sometimes I've taken that song a week later to somebody else, and they said, "Oh, I'm so glad you came in. We're going to do this song day after tomorrow." You never know. But your desire, your thrust is not to be critical of the success of a song, of the path it takes. It's what you do is it's involved with you and the song itself. Just make those words and that music the best they can be to say the message that you want to say in whatever way you choose to say it. And if you, the way I judge it is there's a feeling of completion. When I'm working on a song, whether I'm writing with somebody else or alone, I know when that song is done. At least it's done as far as I'm concerned. It's finished. It's the expression has been made, and I've done it as clearly as possible, and it's right. And then I'm able to put it aside. If I don't have that feeling, I don't put the song aside. I work on it and work on it until it's done. But I'm pretty organized as far as my thoughts are concerned, and I'm able to complete songs enough so that I can keep the train going.
Is there a song that you can name of yours that you feel has been was a great song that just didn't? I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Like it
didn't make
yeah.
Oh, sure. There's a song that I had that it's been recorded maybe 7 or 8 times, and I think it says exactly what I needed to say. And it's a song called Rain Sometimes. It's been recorded by Peggy Lee, Matt Monroe, and a bunch of other people. But it's never had that magical rendition that made it into a standard or anything like that. But it expresses the dilemma, both the good and bad of a personal relationship. And it's like, I don't know. I remember it just rains sometimes, money down the drain sometimes, reason to complain sometimes. That's how it'll be. Like that's the first 8 bars anyway. But but the bridges. But there'll be champagne sometimes, lobster flown from Maine sometimes. We'll ride the gravy train sometimes. Just you wait and see. And then it goes back to the original melody. We may be stranded in the rain sometimes. Lose more than we gain sometimes. I can't remember the last time. Anyway, but love is not for sometimes. Love is for all times for you and me. But that says all you need to know about a relationship, I think. And I didn't need to change any of the words. And the music is fine. And it's there, if somebody wants to record the song, and it gets 2 or 3 records a year, because it's done by a lot of singers in nightclubs.
What would you say the importance of love is to your work?
How important the fact of love is?
Yeah, I mean...
I think it's essential. I mean, love of the work, of the concentration of it, and also love of I think that probably 90% of the songs are about the human condition and the relationship between people. And that's, you look at all songs. All songs are probably 90% of songs are all about human relationships. So it's very important. Love makes it all happen.
If you had to describe your life, the life of Arthur Hamilton, how would you do that? What would you say?
What would I say? Well, it's a work in progress. I'm still doing my best. I'm working on a musical with the wonderful songwriter Charlie Fox, who wrote "Killing Me Softly" and many other things. And we're doing trying to write a Broadway show, and that's work that I love, because you're not writing for a group of people hoping that you're gonna make a hit record. You're just writing songs for the stage and songs for an audience. So it's a little bit different, and it's a wonderful challenge.
My last question: who is Arthur Hamilton?
That's a nice question. I like that question.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm still finding out. I'm still looking for Arthur Hamilton. I've started on that road, and I'm going to stay on that road. But I'm a person who is committed to what he does and enjoying every minute of it, even the down times, because writing saves me from any kind of other pain. So I really hide there, and I love it.
Mr. Hamilton, I thank you very much for your time and for sharing with us.
Sure. My pleasure. It was great talking with you, and I thank you for spending the time to ask me.
Thank you.
I look forward to talking with you again.
Yeah, I hope so.
Good.
Thank you for putting up with my persistence.
Oh, not at all. No, that's lovely. I love it. Yeah, and I hope we talk in the future.
Indeed. Well, have a good day, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right. Hope our paths cross again.
Talk to you later. Okay, you betcha. Thank you. I enjoyed it.
All right. Bye-bye.
A bop, bop, dealy, bop, bop, ba-doo, bop, zee, bop, a doodly, not, bop, shiki, cha-cha, kooka, baza, luka, baza, neck, book, a kera, go, da-dum, bop, doodly, zan, ba-dum, ba-daki, ba-ti, yeah, a zika, baka, booka, long, gone, doodle, dee boo, goodbye.